Pandemonium Reigns.
Hello and welcome to Pandemonium Reigns. I'm Dan. He's Mike, and he's gorgeous.
Oh, right back at you, gorgeous.
Oh my gosh. Did you have a good weekend, my dude?
Man, that was, just as far as a home viewing experience, that was the best Saturday of the college football season for me because we were at the Florida game, we were at the Alabama game, as we've noted, and I sat on my tuchus and I watched the Georgia-Florida game, did a little scouting that we'll get into later this week.
Yeah.
And then I watched, I had my eyes on several different games leading up to Tennessee's later kick at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where they demolished the Kentucky Wildcats, and I took a lot of pleasure in that.
I only have one thing that I want to say about this game, and then we can actually end this episode.
Okay.
Meow.
That's all, folks. We'll talk to you next week.
That's all I got.
Wow.
Actually, this game provides a lot.
Yes, it does.
It flips a season-long narrative about our pass defense right up on top of its head. So let's go ahead and start with the Tennessee defense.
Let's do it.
And let's talk secondary, because that's the place of conversation. Danico Slaughter, who has been taking some snaps at safety in place of Tank Jalen McCullough, steps in at corner and has a day.
Had himself a big day, man. Stand up, Danico Slaughter.
Stand up. Will the real Danico Slaughter please stand up? His stat sheets don't jump out to you. 1 tackle, 1 solo, but if I remember right, he was responsible for a perfectly timed hit on a slant route as they were inside of our red zone, in which Juwan Mitchell, this ball fell into the hands of Juwan Mitchell right off the Slaughter hit. Had a day. I mean, so going into this, no Kamal Haddon, no Christian Charles. This is the return of Jalen McCullough, right? Been out a couple games, and I thought he did well.
Agreed.
And so we roll out with Danico Slaughter, and my mind escapes me. Brandon Turnage, who also had a good day.
He did as well.
Who also had a good day.
You know what? He plays his best ball in those black jerseys is what it is for Brandon Turnage.
Something about them black jerseys.
He plays his best ball.
Yeah.
And he had a career day against South Carolina last year. Had us thinking that star nickel position was just where the magic was at for Tennessee's defense. And, maybe there's a little bit of truth to that, because you do see Wesley Walker and Tamarion McDonald do things at times that could you could see them flourishing in the future, maybe with more time in Tennessee's system or more time under their belts in general. I know Wesley Walker's played a lot of ball, but yeah, man, Brandon Turnage, he shows out in those black jerseys.
Props to him. Props to that secondary. I mean,
yes.
they have been under some scrutiny in the national media, amongst the beat writers, and deservingly so. When you give up 450 to Anthony Richardson, when you give up what you did to Bryce Young, when you're just doing this over and over and over again, and you can't get off the field on critical downs. I mean, I am screaming at you in Neyland Stadium during the Tennessee-Alabama and the Tennessee-Florida game, saying we can't get off the field on critical down situations, and it's all because of the secondary.
Yeah.
Now, there is a part of this narrative that we need to mention that involves another position group, and I believe that impactful position group that is responsible for the play of our Tennessee secondary is the Kentucky offensive line.
Oh, man.
Yeah. They're not good. They're not good.
They're not good, but the only thing I'll throw back at you on that is that LSU's offensive line performed terrible against Tennessee. You didn't see Jaden Daniels just getting, it wasn't like a ton of sacks, but he was constantly getting chased. He did get sacked several times, and he still ripped Tennessee for 300 yards. And again, they were passing, they were trailing, they were going for it, just every time they touched the ball. So I get that,
Mm-hmm.
but Kentucky just woeful from, I mean, every position offensively, most of them defensively, although it could be more coaching there. And it could be coaching offensively, but
sure,
just woeful. And props to Tennessee for doing that, because you got to think a lot of it's got to be confidence. To me, my perception is that a lot of it's got to be confidence. And heck, we get beat through the air. It's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, they just crushed that narrative. Not even 100 yards allowed.
Mm-hmm.
We both have laughed for a long time at Will Levis's projections and things like that. I've seen him throw 2 and 3 interceptions, at least one, in games he has no business turning the ball over, making decisions that someone that's a veteran like him shouldn't be making. But listen, he had a nice day in Lexington against Kentucky, against Tennessee last year, minus the pick six that he threw.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, he didn't have very many bright moments on Saturday at all.
No, he did not. And I don't know if you know this just by looking at his stats. I'm going to try to put the emphasis on certain things to see if you can kind of pick up what I'm laying down here. So Will Levis had 16 completions.
Man.
On 27 pass attempts for 98 yards.
Oh, feels like 98 in the house.
Feels like 98 with 27 pass attempts. 27. Al Wilson says hello.
Yeah.
16 completions. Peyton Manning says hello. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. There's absolutely no narrative there. I'm reading into this, but the number that really does jump off to me, aside from how low his yardage was that QBR at 16.4. He just didn't have a good day. He just really didn't have a good day. He put some balls up, and as I mentioned to you earlier, I made a post on TikTok, and this guy responds, and he's basically blaming the broken hand. And what else did he say? I don't remember. See if I can find this real quick. Blaming the broken hand. Will Levis with a broken finger and a bloody pink, whatever that is, on his throwing hand. So my argument to that is, why isn't Will Levis complaining about this? Why didn't Mark Stoops say anything about it? Why is nobody talking about this?
Nobody.
If that's the argument, nobody's mentioning it. With that said, props to our secondary. I'm going to give these guys like a B+ to an A-, possibly even higher, just because of the stats that you that you left on the stat sheet for Will Levis. So I'll tell you what, I'll bump it up to an A. I mean, just a heck of a performance, and makes me real excited going into this Georgia game. It was really encouraging to see Coach Willie Martinez on the sideline, fist pumping, being excited, because, man, that's the first all year. I mean, Akron threw for 200 more yards against us?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot more yards. And, I thought you were going to go the route of how few downfield, and I'm not talking deep balls. I'm talking 5 to 10 plus yard throws that Will Levis attempted and completed.
Yes.
I thought that's where you were going.
Well, you need to bring that up. Let's go ahead and mention that.
Yeah.
You're the one that sent that to me, so go ahead and bring that up, because that is an incredible stat sheet. And my buddy Chris Schmoose, who should be listening, will appreciate the stat. Mike, go ahead and throw that one out there.
Yeah, and real quick, nod to Austin Berlage, does some fantastic stuff on Twitter, just some magical CFB breakdowns, and he watches the tape and just churns it out. But here's the numbers. Of Will Levis's 16 completions on Saturday, only 5 of them were thrown beyond the line of scrimmage. He completed 9 balls at or behind the line of scrimmage. Of those 5 completions, just 2 were thrown at least 5 yards down the field, which includes one that was thrown exactly 6 yards down the field. He threw interceptions into cover 1, cover 2, and cover 3. Austin went as far as to say, I wonder if they play those coverages in the NFL. And like we talked about, we've laughed and clowned on those projections for a long time.
Yes.
And he may be in some pain from the Ole Miss game. He may be, because it's a long season. He took a beating that day.
Yeah.
But it was his decision making, and absolutely god-awful decisions combined with a really bad throw on the Danico Slaughter interception, which was a very nice way of keeping that ball from just rolling all over the ground. He did a magical job of tucking that thing, but it was underthrown. Maybe he's limited there health-wise. I'll give him that. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying it's possible.
Sure.
The decision was not good. Throw that thing out front. You've got all the arm strength in college football. You can do that.
Sure.
But the decision where he threw the ball directly to Brandon Turnage was terrible. He made some very iffy decisions, throwing behind guys the rest of the night when he was throwing past the line of scrimmage. I mean, he had a night to forget. I mean, I don't want to go back too far too often, but this was literally Tennessee, like flipping the script from the 2020 game when Kentucky baptized Tennessee. Like,
oh, absolutely.
That's how bad it was for Kentucky.
Oh yeah. He had a JG kind of day, no doubt.
He absolutely did.
His draft stock in my mind absolutely plummeted. You know, he was going into this game. He was a first rounder, sealed, signed, delivered as a first round draft pick. A lot of people saying he's number 1 overall. I don't know how you look at that game film and still do that. However, is there a franchise out there that's probably going to do that? Yeah, they're going to say, "Oh my God, look at that boy! He's 6'5", he's 240. Man, look at
Josh Allen. That you?
Bro, and listen, he might go on, in all seriousness, he might go on and get drafted and have a career. You know, he seems like a good dude. So,
sure.
You know, personally, like I wish him well, but vindication from 2020 in my mind, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Vindication for all these narratives that we've been given for his stock and everything, and for Tennessee's lackluster performances against Kentucky and everyone else, just exercising all of the bad in one night and over the course of a great season so far.
Yeah. So I listened to Locked On Wildcats or Kentucky, whatever it was. I found a couple of podcasts on Kentucky going into last week that I was trying to save this. But the common narrative amongst these guys were these Tennessee fans, they just forget that, you know, man, they came into Lexington last year and we still put up 400 something total yards on. I mean, they just seem to forget. Yeah, well, we did too.
Yeah, we outdid you. We scored 45 points in 17 minutes of time of possession.
I thought it was 14.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, I thought it was 14 minutes.
No, I look back. It was 17.
Okay.
I've seen that in multiple areas, but still, Tennessee barely had the ball for a quarter of the game. That's like half a quarter less than usual, which is always going to be a loss for Tennessee in that column, except for the one maybe LSU game, weird game where Tennessee won that stat.
Yeah, it's
meaningless anyway if you're scoring points at the clip that Tennessee is.
Absolutely.
But yeah, they were so confident, and I just don't know where and why that confidence would be there. Even in both teams' 8th game of the season, you're still allowing Jalen Hyatt to go up the sideline. You're allowing a linebacker to be a guy that's matched up over him. Safeties not realizing at all where to be. I don't know how Tennessee does this at this point of an SEC schedule or a football season anywhere. I just don't know how they do it. But they were so confident, and it didn't make sense to me because there weren't, even trying to look from the farthest I could get from a Tennessee bias. I couldn't find many matchups to like. You talk about Rodriguez, Tennessee's defended the run well. You talk about Levis, well, you know how we felt about Levis. And listen, I thought he would have at least double what he had, if not triple.
Oh, absolutely.
But there just weren't many matchups to like. Tennessee's offensive line has performed so well. Kentucky's offensive line has been terrible, and it showed. I mean, I don't know outside of the secondary and Kentucky's receivers what matchups you thought you would win.
Right. No, I don't know. And I'll tell you this though, I got a little worried there for a second. One of their first or second possessions where they just kind of marched down the field, turning around, handing it to Rodriguez. That dude is thick, and his ability to cut back is just next level. That dude should play a long time in the NFL. For a halfback. But my take here, and I put this on our TikTok, is that Levis's stock has dropped. It has to. It absolutely has to. But again, there's a franchise out there who's going to do that. Shifting down from our secondary to our linebackers, we play the run really well. However, so far on the year, I would say that consistently, well, hang on, maybe consistent not the right word. There was a time there, kind of like I've already mentioned, where they were just turning around and handing it to Rodriguez, and this dude's ability to cut back was, I'm like, oh God, this is going to be this crap all night. It kind of, for a second there, it felt like 04 Auburn.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Knoxville, going, oh gosh, here we go. And we kind of just bounced back. We're like, all right, okay, y'all can run. We can stop that though. So watch this. And I think this just goes to show you that yes, Kentucky can run well. They've got an NFL quarterback. They've got talent at the receiver position, not experienced talent, but they got talent.
Yeah.
And a terrible offensive line. Crap, where was I going with this? But our ability to, I totally forgot where I was going with this. So
no, you're good.
So our ability just to stop the run and to keep that in check. Just, my goodness.
Yeah.
Our run fits continue to be incredible. And that's probably
Exceptional.
one of the better running games that we're going to see on the year. Georgia can run, but they're not doing it quite as well as they have been.
Absolutely. This is probably, not considering maybe 2016, this is probably Kirby's worst running team, and it doesn't quite make sense. And it's also not bad. I'm just saying how it stacks up to other years, whether it's the running backs that they've had or the offensive linemen that they've had, or both.
Yeah.
It just isn't that.
Yeah.
And, they've only had a couple of either close games or what's going on games. We talked about Kent State. We talked about Missouri. Outside of those games, Stetson Bennett has played well enough to allow them not hardly to break a sweat. That third quarter was weird against Florida, and turnovers will certainly do that. But yeah, Stetson has carried plenty of the load, whether it's Ladd McConkey receiving those. We know the tight ends. Everyone has to know those tight ends, Darnell Washington, Brock Bowers, and just ridiculous talent behind them that doesn't even get an opportunity yet.
Yes.
But the way that Tennessee's defended the run, listen to this. I think I know where you were going, actually. We were trickling down from the secondary to the linebackers, I believe.
I remember now where I was going, but finish.
3 of your top 4 tacklers for Tennessee are your linebackers. Juwan Mitchell having probably his best game in a Tennessee uniform that I can think of. Jeremy Banks with 6 tackles, Beasley with 5, Caleb Perry, a freaking freshman, with 4 in an SEC game in October, which is when the rubber meets the road. He almost blocked a punt. He arguably should have. He definitely affected the punt. These young guys, man, are out there. You see Elijah Herring a lot. I think he and Perry both are going to be great players for Tennessee. But
yes,
if I'm looking at these linebackers, I can't possibly go below A- or B+ because they didn't get burned in the pass game. They were just still excellent, as the game progressed against the run, and they were productive as they've been all year.
Yeah. I remember what I was going to say now. So Kentucky's strength on the offensive side, obviously, at least this night, was turning around and handing it off. And they wanted to play this time of possession, chew the clock. We can't score, or they can't score if they don't have the ball, sort of thing. Well, you could argue by 11 minutes left in the second quarter, when we made it a 20-6 game, that we had taken them out of their game plan.
Yep.
It was definitely a done deal with 22 seconds left in the half when Jalen Hyatt scored from 31 yards out and made it a 27-6 point game. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And that probably had a lot to do with Will Levis, where he's maybe the thoughts are shifting in his mind at this point, going, well, crap, this game is now on me.
Yeah.
And it just didn't bode well. But you know what? Like, as you were saying, with our linebacker talent, with all those guys that you named, that position has gone from preseason question mark to, and there was even like a time or an episode or two there where you and I both were going, it might not even be a question mark. It might be like an right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's going to, this is one of the strengths actually on the defensive side. Jeremy Banks is I would still, I haven't said this on the pod yet, and I've been meaning to mention this to you. I wish, don't get me wrong, I've loved him as a linebacker, but I do wish he could have figured out the fumble thing.
Yeah,
because
man.
Can you imagine turning around and handing it off to this guy?
He was fierce as a just young pup freshman. And, he had the fumbling issues. He was fierce, and as ferocious as he is going and getting the ball carrier or the receiver or whoever. Yeah, boy, I would love to have seen that if he could have figured that out. I do think he's a fine college football linebacker. He'll probably, if he gets an opportunity in the pros, which, gosh, I hope he does, he'll probably struggle with the pass nature. I think the same could be said for Beasley's play to this point of his career. I'm hoping that it works well for them, but the past nature of the NFL could present challenges. At the same time, you could definitely see them in scenarios, depending on the down and distance and things like that.
I'm going to throw a name at you that might make you feel a little bit better about what you just said regarding Jeremy Banks and defending the pass.
Okay.
A.J. Johnson.
Hey, you're right. Fantastic point, because A.J. Johnson came from a point where his career, which was very good against the run and very iffy and kind of slow against the pass, and then getting the worst allegation outside of murder that you could get made against you, and turned it into a very fine, short NFL career. But he was an older player by the time he got cleared and got back in football shape. And I think he has now suffered an injury that has kind of helped him stay a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. But for a few years there, he was excellent with the Broncos. And
absolutely,
man, I would love to see Jeremy Banks or Aaron Beasley or both, even Juwan Mitchell, get into that role as much as they can. That would be awesome to see.
Absolutely. And I continue to get excited about Aaron Beasley. I'm loving Jeremy Banks. I feel like Jeremy Banks just had a good night. I don't remember looking at him at any point in time going, "Hey, you need to calm down. You need to chill out."
Yeah.
So hopefully he's maturing there. So
I agree.
Pleased with linebackers. This whole defensive side of the ball, obviously. We held them to 6 points. They didn't score in the second, third, or fourth quarter. So obviously,
remarkable.
I'm feeling pretty good about this.
And one more thing for me, to your point, and we had this conversation in text and stuff about Kentucky getting away from their game plan and holding on to the ball.
Yeah,
that interception when Danico Slaughter just absolutely murdered Dane Key and Juwan Mitchell took it back 48 yards, it looks like. That is the point where it really flipped for them, because they were on the verge of scoring and keeping it a close game. Who knows what happens? Obviously, they didn't hardly even threaten until later in the game to score again. But, it just makes things different. If they're able to still know that they can chew clock, they can run the ball, maybe it continues to work. I don't necessarily think that it would have over 4 quarters of the game, but that really, really put a strain on them sticking with that game plan.
Didn't it feel like that play almost broke them?
It did.
Which is crazy, because we ended up punting on that ensuing drive. Like we didn't even turn that turnover into points. But it's like they never recovered.
Yeah. Yeah, and that really worries me for if I'm looking at Levis's pro potential. You got to be able to bounce back and forget about a mistake or a bad break. You got to be able to just get past it quickly.
Yeah.
And I know they got crushed. I know it was a big loss. But his body language and kind of the way he was talking after the game, to me, it almost felt like he was on the verge of tears. That won't travel well. That won't bode well at the next level. Kind of like we talked about Spencer Rattler coming in, where he lost his job in the Big 12 against those defenses. Yeah, Levis has done better than Spencer Rattler has at times, and he has earned some of that, those projections, but everything is only going to get faster and more difficult from here. So I don't see that from him, not to continue to beat that dead horse.
Agreed. Well, let's make our way down to the defensive line. And I'm going to throw a name out to you, and I just want you to just tell me where you're at on this guy, because he made a play, and from this point of him making this play, I kind of couldn't stop watching him. Dejon Terry.
I had a feeling that was going to be the name. And this is what I like about how Tennessee's handled the transfer. Not to go on a rant before I answer the question, but he's been an impact guy this season. He's added very valuable depth this season.
Yes.
You're finally seeing that from Juwan Mitchell, though it took longer than we wanted it to. You're seeing that from Juwan Mitchell. You got instant production out of a guy like Javonte Payton a year ago. You get it from Brew McCoy this year. Though Tennessee may not be adding transfer numbers just in droves like other teams are, why did they not add this guy? Why did they not pursue this guy?
Yeah.
The guys they're pursuing, by and large, are really making an impact, whether it's a former 5-star or a former guy that went to Kansas like Dejon Terry. And
that's right. Kansas. I was trying to remember where he came from. Yes.
Yeah. And it's amazing, because in this game, a common theme was if Kentucky's running, Tennessee was getting some pressure up the middle as the game progressed. They're early, they weren't as much, but as the game progressed, he was, he or his, his cohorts there in the D tackle region, the middle of that defensive line, were getting a lot of pressure causing some chaos up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then on that sack, that made me just really happy for him, because I was like, man, if he can just add some more confidence, I mean, he's going to be playing at a really high level. That and the way that the linebackers, I meant to say this a moment ago, but the way that you're getting it from everybody almost on that defensive line and that front, it makes me wonder if those two areas, and listen, the defensive line's been amazing this year compared to what we thought they might be.
Yes.
But it makes me wonder if they can't kind of continue to be like the offensive line has been this year, where we had questions, we had concerns.
Yeah.
And at least against the run, definitively for the defensive line, what they've done is amazing. But the linebackers against the run, they've been much better than they have at times.
Absolutely.
In previous seasons. If they can continue to make strides like that, I mean, the sky's going to be the limit for this program, which, we thought we were going to be an offensive team. We thought last year could be more normal. Yeah. And it's definitely not been the norm. Yeah, there's been games where defense has gotten burned, but we didn't have hardly any games to hang our hats on defensively last year if it was a legit opponent.
I'm telling you. Hashtag pay Rodney Garner. Hello.
Pay that man. Pay that man.
So, I mean, defensive line production, it's by committee. Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
We're rotating a lot of bodies. And I was just thinking about this as you were talking, and I can't think of the last time, honestly, that we were able to do something like this. I'm just going to throw this out to you, and you just see if you can recall. Okay. So DeJoun Terry, 6'4", 321. Omari Thomas, 6'4", 320. And those are the basically starting tackles, correct?
Yeah.
Unless I know Karat Garland has been getting a pretty significant amount of time. Well, he stands at 6'3", 310.
Woo.
Okay. And then you've got poor Elijah Simmons, who I don't know how he gets his helmet on and off.
Dude.
The poor guy, 6'2", 340. I saw him get some snaps the other night. I think he accounted for a tackle as well. But, Eason's getting a lot of playing time. He's coming in at 6'3", 300. Those tackles are massive.
They're big, yeah.
And I'm watching DeJoun Terry just win, and sorry, I should give this to credit to Omari as well. They're just winning at the point of attack. We caught a lot of slants, and I think we did this just because of Chris Rodriguez. And sometimes you'll notice that the slant call basically ate us up because of his ability to cut back. Yeah. But there were a couple occasions there where we slanted into the play side, and we just like, so as an offensive lineman, if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on podcast, I should say, if you're listening, I don't know what to tell you. So a reach block, they want to get their hands on, they want to extend you to play side. They want to continue to push you out. And DeJoun and Omari were beating the reach and meeting Chris Rodriguez in the backfield. And dude, that's just how you win. I'm going to hate myself for saying this. Okay. I'm going to hate myself for saying this. I hate myself already, but it's stuff like that, how you win SEC championships and national championships. It's just the stuff like that where under Pruitt and even under Butch. I mean, under Butch, I can think about Shy Tuttle, who was pretty good at that. But outside of that, nope. Nope. Nobody. Nope. Not Khalil McKenzie. Nobody. Nobody.
No.
And definitely not under Pruitt. So
yeah.
I mean, when you can beat guys like that at the point of the attack, man, you're doing something dang well, which gets me really excited for this Georgia game. But I don't need to get a head start. Byron Young, he accounted for a sack and a half.
Dude, he was shot out of a cannon. On whether he got home or not, he was just whipping whoever he lined up against, just so fast off the snap. I mean, remarkable. Sorry, had to jump in on Byron.
You're good.
But just had himself a day, man.
I can see him, and this list, I'm not making a comparison, but I think this is his potential. So I want to be very careful, and I want to make sure my listeners are not saying, "Oh my God, listen to what Dad said. He's an idiot. Pandemonium Reigns are stupid." I can see his potential being like that of a TJ Watt or of a let's see if I can think, like a Harold Landry for the Titans, an outside linebacker who, in a 3-4 scheme, his job is to pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
That's his job. His hands sometimes in the dirt, sometimes he's standing up. I mean, he comes in at 6'3", 245. So he's probably not going to play defensive end in the NFL.
Probably not.
It's probably going to be, some kind of 3-4 outside linebacker thing. And I think you might see him go third, fourth, fifth round. I think you could see him as early as the third. I really, really do. The way, like you're saying, he's being shot out of a cannon. His hands are so violent. His first step is so quick. He has a motor. And I will say it's probably helping him a lot that we're rotating a lot of bodies. So when he's in, like, he's fresh, which is different than your point with 2021 last year, where we just weren't able to do this.
Yeah.
We're just rotating a lot more bodies. So
sure.
I think he's making some money, making a name for himself.
Completely agree. It'll be like that just stupid situation with the NFL where they don't love an older player. The NBA does it too. I'm not going to just hate on the NFL, but they don't love your older players. It could impact Hendon Hooker's draft stock and where he goes. But whoever, if they allow him to fall, they're going to get a lot of value if they have the right scheme and they use him the right way.
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, I might be getting me a Byron Young jersey if he gets drafted. I know listen, if I've said this already, there was a mock draft. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but there was a mock draft where they had Hendon Hooker going to the Bucks. And I'm just telling you, I'm all Tampa Bay at that point.
Forget everyone else.
So let's end this defensive side with a hashtag pay Rodney. And just real quick before we transition as well, man, just an applause to Martinez and that secondary just one more time for saying, you know what, screw y'all, we can play. Like, watch this.
Yeah.
And maybe, okay, so talking to several Alabama fans over the years, they've been saying for a while now, our defense is just not what it used to be. It's just not well, you're scoring a lot faster than what you used to. I mean,
yes,
you used to be turn around, hand it off, turn around. I mean, this is what you did with Derrick Henry. This is what you did with Eddie Lacy, and so the time of possession was completely flipped upon his head when Tua was like, "Oh, we're gonna throw it around, awesome, fun."
Yeah.
Is that our case? I mean, is it because we're scoring so much? I mean,
we're dictating what teams have to try to do. I mean, and on top of that, if I'm following you, the secondary, got hit as hard with injuries, transfers, just you name it. I mean,
good
talent
point.
In the building.
Good point.
You just name it. And one thing that I'll add, Kentucky's offensive line was bad. Will Levis made some very poor decisions that we've already highlighted, and we've talked about is what we think of him. But Kentucky has some speed at receiver, maybe even better than teams that have burned Tennessee. Certainly better than like a Florida. Florida's receivers are by and large not fast guys. Yeah, they can run routes to beat you. They're big.
Yeah,
they have more of your power forwards and your centers, and Kentucky's got more of your combo guys. They've got some taller guys, but they have got some fast guys. Sure. Now they may be their younger guys. Barryon Brown's a burner. Dane Key's going to be a really good receiver there. I mean, he's the one that got plowed by Danico Slaughter.
Right.
But still, even despite Tennessee's woes against the pass, it has still been just a ton of intermediate stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's
not been consistently and even really by any sense of the word over the top. They're not getting, bombs thrown on them. I mean, it's weird. And I do think it boils down to the number of reps, the number of plays, and the time of possession that teams are, they're given when they play Tennessee because of the speed that we use, how easily and quickly we score. I think it's just a perfect storm this year. I'll be really interested to have my eyes on that for the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
But for this year, I think it's just a continuation of the talent in the room, the bodies that they lost, you name it. Tennessee's offense, I don't think the level they're at right now is sustainable over the long haul after Hendon Hooker, whether Joe Milton's good or not. But this offense is special. They're not wasting any time scoring. But this defense, that is a huge challenge for them. But it seems like they're building confidence, which just doesn't seem feasible to me.
Oh, and you and I said for at least 2 weeks there that we are who we are. It is what it is.
Yeah, we did. We sure did.
And we owed the Tennessee secondary an apology.
100%.
We were wrong. So, hey, just like punters are considered offensive players, something that we have not done a good job of is talking about punt return and D. Williams. his time is coming. He is going to find the end zone at some point. I mean,
yes, he is.
I think he fielded this one at the negative 45, maybe a little bit deeper than that, and housed it back to their 11. And once that happened, now you just kind of saw that Kentucky, that whole sideline just, oh, okay.
Yeah, he is. Now, he's a little risky. We've talked about it at times, if not on the pod, you and I. He's a little risky, but dude is fearless, and that's a good thing at times. He may cost you one here and there. It may happen, but he's fearless. He's electric. I mean, he's going to get one. He's already impacted games in a massive way against LSU, against Kentucky. I'm sure he's got other ones that I'm not even thinking of. And that is going to be a massive weapon, whether it's the remaining games outside of Georgia, whether it's a bowl game. If Tennessee makes it to Atlanta, he's going to be a weapon anytime that Tennessee can force a punt.
If he can get one of those against Georgia, and I'm not even saying house it, just put us in the red zone or on the 25 or 30 or something. I mean, you're setting us up for some serious success in that game, because that game might come down to either who has the ball last or who can just score the most or whatever. Because as we're talking about Tennessee secondary, I just don't know what we're going to do with Brock Bowers.
I agree completely. I'm encouraged with not giving up the deep ball, but AD Mitchell, man, it seems like he could be back. Ladd McConkey is a good technical route runner, and those are the things that it's been. The intermediate routes, the digs, those things have been what's killed Tennessee. So if Georgia utilizes those things correctly, they probably won't have much trouble scoring unless the defense took a just ginormous step last week.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, we're getting ready to switch to offense, but I want to just holler out some Kentucky offensive numbers real quick before we go. Obviously, we talked about Will Levis and his numbers. Chris Rodriguez, 15 carries, 64 yards, good for 4.3 per carry, and a score with a long of 16. You know what? If that game didn't get out of hand when it did, he would have been a factor.
Absolutely.
I was fully expecting him to have 30 to 35 touches in this game, but just because they had to change their game plan, it didn't happen. Wright had 8 carries for 33 yards, 4.1 yards a carry. McLean had 4 for 20. Beckwith, former Tennessee Volunteer, had 3 carries for 13 yards, but I believe his time was all in garbage time. Anyway,
it was.
They totaled just a little over 100 yards, 36 total carries for 107 yards. Again, they passed through the air for 98 yards. They were good on third down, 2 for 13.
Hey, man, they got every stop that you've been asking for all season long. I hope they didn't get all of them. I hope they have some left in the tank, but they got it every time just about Saturday.
I just want every Tennessee defensive player to hear me say, I am sorry. So any other significant numbers here other than him throwing 3 picks?
Will Levis, who can run the ball, had a long run of 1 yard.
There you go. Hey, here's to hoping like somebody like the Patriots take him. I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
Somebody that I can root against. All right, let's switch over and talk Tennessee offense. All right. So usually we kind of work our way, start out and work our way in. I want to do this a little bit differently this time because, man, I was just so pleased with and happy is what I really should say is for a dude named Jabari Small, who 21 carries, 78 yards, who just turned it out, man. I mean, if he was dealing with this pesky shoulder injury, didn't really seem to show signs of it. So props to him. But I'm telling you, there's a dude behind him who has been behind him who, if he can figure out this ball security thing, he's legit.
He is legit. He is running very hard. I got some good news for you. You want to know what that good news is?
Bring it on me.
They're both going to be there next year. Both of them.
Yeah.
They will not lose a single soul from the running back room unless someone decides to transfer. And if they decide to transfer out of that running back room, that's a bad sign for them.
Sure.
Unless there's just something that we don't know and can't see. But man, Jalen Wright's running well. It's been a little bit now since he fumbled. He did have apparently Bama fans and those that hate us are confused why the whistle was blown early because Jalen Wright put the ball on the ground against Alabama. To me, it looked like that play was already going backwards, whatever. He's cleaning it up as he goes. I would certainly love to see no additional fumbles for the rest of the season, but he got 7 rushes Saturday, and he was like, he ran every time like, I don't have many more left in me. I'm gonna make it count.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it count.
Yeah. Hey, if these Alabama fans got something to whine about, then I would like to reference them to the Music City Bowl 2021.
Yes, I would also. A couple plays in there that were very questionable. I'd also point them to the Texas A&M game 2022. Why are we beating a dead horse here? We know what it is. There were calls both ways. It's fine. But yes, the running backs, Jalen's, I was super happy for Jabari Small.
Yes.
Very, very pleased with Jalen Wright, man. He didn't want to go down on Saturday, dude. He was fierce.
Yeah. The only guy who Jabari Small and Jalen Wright should be looking out for, who might be taking their job, is Princeton Fant.
Dude, he is like, I know you're not as big of a fantasy football fan as me, but he is. If this was the NFL and you're a fantasy football owner of Jabari Small or Jalen Wright, you would absolutely hate Princeton Fant, dude. Mm-hmm. We get it inside the 3, inside the 5. Mm-hmm. It's going to him. He's getting in the end zone.
Yeah,
it's like a given. The offensive line and the schemes that they're using, the design of the plays that they've got Princeton Fant in on are beautiful. Credit to him for bouncing that run against UT Martin. That was nice.
Yeah.
But they're just creating beautiful, beautiful lanes for him to run through. He's running the ball so well. I mean, he looks like a natural, and I know I know he played that position in high school some. It's been a long time now because he's a veteran. Yeah. But yeah, he's a fantasy owner's worst nightmare if you have Jabari Small or Jalen Wright, because he's going to leach some touchdowns, and he's doing a fantastic job of being very efficient at that for Tennessee.
Yep. So speaking of Jabari Small, I just want to recall our off-season projections on him.
All right.
We're going to have to do the same thing with Jalen High here, even though
we're funny.
So Jabari Small, and who knew at this point, right? Had you had told us going into the offseason, hey, you're going to be 8-0, I'd have been like, I don't care who has what stat.
Yeah.
I don't
Doesn't
care.
matter. Doesn't matter.
And I would have, if you had said, hey, these receiving numbers, here are the receiving numbers, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, Tillman is going off.
Tillman's going to be a first rounder, top 10 pick.
It's Jalen hot, boys. Anyway, so Jabari Small, you said 150 carries, 825 yards. I said 170 carries, 1,050 yards. He is at 110 carries for 475 yards. It is running back by, I'm not going to say committee. I'm going to say by duo, by pair.
Duo, there you go.
It is Jabari Small and it is Jalen Wright. So he does have 8 scores on the year, but man, this was one of those games I was just really happy for them where, you know, we were really balanced. We ran it 40 times. We passed it 25. You know, good stuff, man. I'm just really happy for those guys. And even Hooker, you know, got him one as well in the end zone, which should bode well for him in this Heisman race, right? That he is
absolutely
crazy to say, right? Crazy to be like, okay, I know I'm getting off rabbit trail here, but bro,
you're good.
We are talking about, oh my gosh, had you had said this in the offseason, you had said, all right, you're going to be 8-0. And after being 8-0, even if you lose, and you go 11-1, we'd be like, oh my God, 11-1. What?
Yeah.
that you still got a shot at the playoffs. What playoffs? What?
Yeah, playoffs.
Yeah. And then you're going to have a guy leading the Heisman race by week 9. And you're going to have a serious potential award winner. Now, you know what I'm talking about because several times on Saturday night, we were like, there it is again, Heisman to Biletnikoff, right?
Yep.
And you know what? And something, we're going to get there in just a second, but another name that we need to throw out for a potential award winner, and I don't even know what the name of the award winner is, but Donnell Wright has achieved another player of the week inside of the SEC, offensive lineman of the week. So
what is that, Outland Trophy?
Yeah, Outland.
Remington is the center. Yeah,
Outland. So, I mean, his name's going to be thrown in there for sure.
He's making as much money or more than anyone not named Hendon Hooker and anyone not on that defensive line.
Absolutely. He is making a case for first round.
Yes, he absolutely is.
Period.
Again, I want to come back to when the offensive line said that their goal was the Joe Moore Award, best offensive line in the nation. I was like, and we talked all year and the whole time we've had this podcast, offensive line worries us. Can we keep Hendon clean? 2 sacks allowed against Kentucky. He's not been sacked nearly as much as he was sacked last year at this point.
Not even
he
close.
he actually is responsible for one of those sacks on Saturday night. And he held the ball. He could have ran. He didn't.
Yep.
He could have thrown it away. He didn't.
Yep.
It's fine. He's safe and healthy, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But again, when they said that, I was like, boy, that's a lofty goal. You know, like when Hendon came back, let's go to Atlanta. Lord, that's a lofty goal, man.
Yeah.
We could be anywhere from like third, fourth, you know, in the East,
Yeah.
second would be great. But
yeah.
Atlanta, oh my God.
Right.
They believe in those goals. It's one thing to have them and you want to have them. They believe in those goals and they're making strong cases for those goals.
So I get the privilege of doing the pregame talk for the Chesapeake High School every week, and Coach Conley always gives me a chance anytime during the week to say things. And I always tell these guys, I said, there's two competitors, two opponents that are the hardest to beat. The first guy that is the hardest to beat is the guy that's confident. The second guy that's hardest to beat is the guy that doesn't quit. And we're both of those right now.
We are both those guys right now.
And the confidence that we're playing with, the chemistry that we're playing with, the grit, you know, I mean, in years past, we'd have found ways to lose that Florida game. Anyway.
Yeah,
so,
no, absolutely.
This started with us talking about the backfield.
Boy, did we go down a rabbit trail.
Yeah, right. Hey, you made a point, and I want to make come back piggyback off this point, and then work our way outside. You said that both these guys are coming back next year in Small and in Wright, which is, you know, super encouraging. Very excited for those. And if they transfer out, they're kind of idiots, or, you know, whatever the case may be. You know, who's going to be pushing for their job? I'm if there is time or snaps cut into their count, right? It better be because somebody like not a Dylan Sampson, who I don't think is I think he can be an every down back.
Yeah.
I just don't think we're going to use him that way.
Yeah.
It better be because like a Justin Williams-Thomas, who has that frame and that top end speed and who has all those things, who has figured it out. Like he understands this offense.
Yeah.
And because he's going to be, if he can get it between the ears, right?
Yeah. Pass pro, get his body right.
He's
the beating.
He's 1,000-yard back.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
1,000-yard back. All right. So we go from Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, and that backfield to the edge where Jalen Hyatt continues to make his case for the Biletnikoff. And some people have him on the Heisman list.
Oh my gosh, dude. Going back to that, if you had told us this, then wow.
Right. So he's at what, 14 touchdowns on the year? Is that right?
He is. New single season program record. And with with an average game for his season, he'll hit 1,000 yards this week against Georgia in his 9th game of the season.
It's crazy. So I'm going to throw some serious shade to Kentucky people right now. And we do have one potential Kentucky listener out there, possibly. Okay.
All right.
Jalen Hyatt's 14 receiving touchdowns is one more than Will Levis's total passing touchdowns on the year. He's at 13. Oh,
the same can be said for a lot of teams.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But absolutely. I want Kentucky to hear that and think about those projections one more time.
One more time, please. Brew McCoy catches a quiet 6 catches, 54 yards. I just don't know, especially with the return of Tillman, who was 4 for 22, you know, when we line up in 3 wide, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're a secondary player, you're like, oh, well, can you guys want to go ahead and go? I mean, I don't know how we're going to do this. I mean, I cannot think. I think the closest thing that I've come to in recent memory is an Alabama team where they had Judy, Waddle, and Smith, you know.
Yeah.
Now, Smith, fantastic receiver, right?
Oh, yeah.
Waddle, fantastic. Judy, incredible route runner. Those guys are
Ruggs,
obviously.
Burner.
Yeah. So But I'm talking about the intimidation factor
Oh,
here.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where Tillman stands at 6'3", 215, where McCoy stands at 6'3", 220, and Hyatt is only at 6 foot 180. But if you blink, he's by you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, I'm just going, what do you do? Can you imagine? And I've been wanting to say this to you as well, because I think it's a hidden blessing that Tillman got hurt.
Yes. Since it's not anything long term. Since Tennessee, handled it well. Yeah. I got you.
Where a Jalen Hyatt was actually able to step up the way he was, because we saw in the pit game, Hooker was looking for Tillman. He wasn't know where he was. So now, as we go into this Georgia game, Tillman's back, round 2 since his return. I get it. That Georgia secondary is loaded. Malachi Starks, all those dudes. But I'm telling you, I one look at this receiving core, and you're like, oh God.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So anyway, as you said, Hyatt is at 907 yards. Maybe he can hit that 1,000-yard mark come Saturday. He put 2 more in the end zone, and Small got him a receiving touchdown as well. I mean, how do you talk about this receiving core every week, the way that they have performed with Hyatt leading the way, and Hyatt is not getting enough conversation in the way that we were talking about Ramel Keaton. Hey, dude, props to you for staying and toughing it out and saying to the public that it's your fault. You weren't the one working. And now Jalen Hyatt is in this conversation saying, you know what, I didn't last year, whatever. And look what this dude is doing. And I just don't know how you're not a 4-star and 5-star receiver looking at this going, I want to
my name on the dotted line.
I want to go to Knoxville.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go to Knoxville. I just don't know why, we don't have 13 receivers committed this far. Anyway, any other comments there on that receiving group?
I just want to talk about Hyatt. One other thing. Down to every ounce of energy and motion that he makes on a route, blocking, sure, but on a route, it's so intentional. He knows what to do and how to do it, and he's got the speed of, he's just one of the fastest players in the conference in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically his second touchdown Saturday night, Kentucky lost him, we know. When I saw that play, I was like, man, he must have just blazed off the line of scrimmage. It must have just got lost. Dude, no. He delays his release. He set Kentucky up for that, because Tillman or whoever was outside breaks towards over the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, the linebacker's kind of looking at Hyatt, thinking he's got somebody behind him, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Hyatt's like, no, you don't. And if he is, it don't matter. He was so far inside with the outside receiver that he kind of went with and looked at, that it didn't matter. He's so intentional. He is so fast. I wonder, and I'll look this up. Maybe before we preview the Georgia game. I wonder how many drops he's got this year, because I seriously can't name like 3. Maybe seriously, he might have a couple
early season, right?
Yeah, like against Pitt, I think there was like a higher ball that he had a chance on, but he's so intentional. The work, dude, that they talk about it a lot. How many they caught in just on the machine with the quarterbacks. Everybody seemingly bought in. Sign up and come play in Knoxville. And I know we've got some receivers that I'm excited about, frankly.
For sure.
But how we don't have more, boy.
Carnell
Hey,
Tate.
buddy. Carnell Tate.
So about this touchdown play that you're talking about. So this outside backer is 6 to 7 yards off the ball, and he is inside leverage on Hyatt, and Hyatt gives him a move that you would give most corners when they're on press.
Yeah.
And this guy is flat-footed.
Yeah.
And Hyatt's like, bing bong, watch this.
Deuces.
Yeah, deuces. And obviously now part of this play is because there was no over the top help. But anyway, if we think about this, if he can put up some decent numbers, 40, 50 yards against Georgia, what is he going to do against South Carolina? What is he going to do against Mizzou? What is he going to do against Vanderbilt?
Not much, because Squirrel White and the second team will be in by halftime. I'm sorry, I'm just going there.
Well, he's been good for one score.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. But I mean, seriously, if things go as they've gone, the second team will be in early third quarter if they want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've touched on it just for a second, but the offensive line, man, playing out of their minds. Again, we said this on previous episodes. Position of concern going into the season, not knowing, who that left tackle spot is, and Darnell Wright is, again, he's making money. Dude is making money. Props to Carvin and Javonte Spraggins and Mays. I mean, we got a unit. We have a unit. We don't have
we do.
We don't have a position group. We have a unit.
And man, we sure do.
I'm tickled.
Oh, absolutely. They play through the echo of the whistle every single snap. They help each other. They communicate. Cooper is so vital to the tempo and the communication aspect of it, and how we move as quickly as we do when we do, because we've slowed it down.
Yeah.
You remember last year listening to commentators in games, they would talk about, and this was later in the game, maybe even the first time they mentioned it was the bowl game, but they would talk about how it was time. Tennessee's mindset was, it's time to end this drive, get in the end zone, end the drive. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That is not a thing. If the numbers say to run the ball because they're focused on the outside, they're taking advantage of it, where they didn't last year. We didn't run the way that we've ran this year.
Right.
If the numbers say, hey, watch out, they're kind of heavy in the box, we're taking full advantage of it in the pass game. But we didn't capitalize the way that we could have, and we are this year in the run game last year. So again, steps like that are how you sustain programs and multiple successful seasons, not just one run. Those are the things that carry you to longer term success. Because run game and defense will always travel. You're going to have quarterbacks probably generationally, if you're recruiting well and performing well, like a Hendon Hooker has performed, but run game and defense and those things will travel every single year. They'll show up every week if you've got it.
Absolutely. And there's some dudes coming up on that offensive line to be excited about. And if we can put a guy like a Darnell Wright in the league on a day one on the draft, I mean, that's going to bode well for recruiting.
Huge.
So super excited for offensive line. Gonna need it come Saturday against dudes like Jalen Carter and those dudes and Nolan Smith, because that club is elite. But so was the Cheetah package.
Yes, it was. It really was. Yes, we've laughed at it, but it really, really was elite, and it's terrifying. Yep. Don't want to see it again. Probably will if we beat Georgia. But Nolan Smith is actually not looking like he'll play because of the pec injury. So that's one thing to keep your eyes on. Yeah. But the interior, I think this game is different because of the interior that Georgia has, where they don't have exactly Will Anderson and Dallas Turner. They've got dudes, but they don't have those dudes.
Yeah.
And they've only got 10 quarterback sacks on the year, which is a little weird, but they're still so disruptive. They can be, at least if they're playing well, and if Tennessee's offensive line doesn't meet the challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, their offensive line is just the most consistent and most solid group on this team.
Yes. Hey, speaking of the Georgia game, you guys be on the lookout for episode on Friday. We'll have Ryan Phillips back, Georgia fan. He reached out to us. He's like, hey, you guys got to get me back. Your wish is our command, my dude. I about said bro and dude, and it came out that. Hey, we're about to talk Hendon Hooker, and I just need to throw something at you, because I went and looked this up the other day, and I went, are you telling me there's a chance? So 2022 year gone. Yeah. 2022 eligibility gone.
Yeah.
2020, nope, COVID year. Okay. 2019, he registered a bunch of stats. I'm pretty sure he started that year. So eligibility gone. I'm holding up 3 fingers. Okay. 2018 was his true freshman year at Virginia Tech. His only stats are 4 carries, 57 yards. Did he play in more than 4 games? Because if he didn't, did they redshirt him? And if they didn't, I need to find that head coach and go slash his tires, because we could potentially be looking at Hendon Hooker 2023 if that was the case.
Man, I hear what you're saying, but his draft status has like taken the opposite Will Levis trajectory, man.
Listen,
I would give body organs to have him back next year. I truly would. I'll never be able to put into words my love for Hendon Hooker, but he's got to make that money and capitalize.
I hear you, but we're in a new age. We're in a new age. You just said it. He's got to make that money.
You're right.
Some dudes are getting drafted and taking pay cuts.
You're right. You're absolutely right. It's been happening in Tuscaloosa for a long time.
So you mean to tell me if the Tennessee fan base found out that he was considering going pro because he wanted to secure the bag, you mean to tell me our fan base is just going to sit back and say, oh man, go get your money, yeah? They're gonna be like, bro, we need to put together that GoFundMe right now.
Now.
Start that thing. We get Hooker back 2023. I just want to know if Hooker redshirted in 2018. That's really all I want to know because
you're right.
Because there's technically, if that's the case, he's available. I'm just saying.
You're right.
But Hendon Hooker does the Hendon Hooker thing again, does the Heisman thing again, 19 for 25. This completion to attempt ratio that he's putting on, his completion percentage, bro, is just mind-boggling.
It's stupid.
245 yards, 3 scores, QBR with a low of 89.9. Not good for a Hooker, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just continues to do the thing. And I'm watching Ohio State on Saturday. And CJ Stroud, if I remember right, had a good day. Let me just compare these numbers real quick, see if I can pull this up. 26 for 33, 354 yards, but only 1 score. We have played better defenses than Penn State.
100%.
And I mean, let's just take Alabama for a second. I mean, that's an elite defense. It's an elite pass rush. I mean, but we kept figuring out ways to match up Hyatt on Helms and did it good for 5 scores. I'm just happy to see several people say, you know what? No, it's not Stroud. It's Hooker.
Yeah. He usurped CJ Stroud in the Heisman odds Saturday. He finally took over the number 1 spot in the odds. Unlike the voters were afraid to do and put Tennessee at number 2 in the rankings, which we will talk about, whether it's on the Georgia preview or whether it's a rant at the end of this episode.
It's a rant at the end of this episode. You've already got me pissed off.
But he usurped CJ Stroud. That's the thing. When Stroud put up 354, I mean, he outdid him in yards by over 100. Hendon had him in the touchdowns, and he's no matter what this season, he could not play another snap, and he's outrushed him already. He's outrushed him for touchdowns and yards. Mm-hmm. He's having that year, man. I mean, people are continuing to talk 2019 LSU, and I to this point I've said to the on the offensive side maybe, but still they were so different. They were the greatest show on turf of the NFL, and the Rams is what they were in college. And Tennessee's done things like that, especially against Alabama and Florida, and the way they've moved at times. It's just different, though. It's different styles. Tennessee's defense would still have to continue to take steps and prove more consistency to beat 2019 LSU, but no one else has been closer to 2019's Joe Burrow than Hendon's played this year.
Oh yeah, I don't really love that comparison. I still don't think that's us.
Oh yeah.
But I will say, if you have to say, all right, who's the closest? Oh, 2022 Tennessee. No.
Yeah, absolutely. Hendon Hooker, 22 Tennessee. There's nobody else that's this close.
Yeah, absolutely. So comments on Hooker. I mean, I know that Joe Milton got some time there towards the end, but I mean, Kentucky's defense is good. It's a good defense.
It is a good defense. That I come back. Yeah, he was finding open guys, delivering the ball well. That speed option touchdown run though, that was nifty, and that was just beautiful. And like when the competition, because you've got one more game against stout competition in Georgia. Missouri's defense is stouter than it was, but their offense isn't what we faced and will face. that's going to be as close to a little baby Heisman moment as you can get over these non-huge games. Is that speed option run that he had? It was just nifty, and it was an important stat, just to be frankly honest.
Yeah. So regarding the words Hooker and Heisman, dude's got a chance to win it on Saturday. He's got a chance to win it on Saturday. If he goes in and does, I think, something similar, 19 for 25. Of course, I think that number is going to be higher. I think that attempt number is going to be higher.
100%.
Let's say he does something like, because he's average. I think Florida was like 22 for 28.
Yeah.
He seems to be right around that 5, 6, 7 marker on incompletions. If he does that, let's say he's 27 for 34, 35, 315, 3 scores.
He's won it. I mean, he's won it.
Because you've now done it against a good Kentucky defense. You've now done it against Georgia. You've now done it against Florida. You've done it against Alabama. I mean,
LSU.
I mean, goodness. What else do you want him to do?
Yeah, there's nothing else you can have him do.
When CJ Stroud's going to play his first game in Week 14. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, any other thoughts there on Hooker as we begin to land this OrangeCast?
Nothing else on Hooker other than I love you, bro.
I love you, bro. I've asked my family for a Hendon Hooker orange jersey for Christmas. That's what I want. Sure hope my family is listening. Sure would be a shame if they are not listening right now. Tweet, calling all Tuckers. Hey, I'm pissed as we begin to land this. I have never in my life of following this sport, of playing NCAA 14, of other NCAA, of seeing a tie in the AP top 20. If that doesn't scream, we were just not yet convinced of Tennessee. That tells me you look at the brand. If you were to look at this, okay, this team, Team A has played this team, then here are the final scores, and here's Team B, question mark on who they are. They've done this, and this. Are you seriously going to tell me? That we've tied for you've never done this in your daggum history? I couldn't find it. I went and look. I couldn't find it. Maybe I didn't look very hard, but I couldn't find it. But the Associated Press puts Georgia number 1, I believe, and Tennessee and Ohio State tied at 2. And so I have 2 words that I want to say to the Associated Press. And I've said all season long, they're a bunch of dudes who really just don't pay attention, or they're the beat writers for their own team, right? Which it's just a messed up system. The same thing as it is for the Heisman. But here's what I want to say to the AP Top 25 this week. Screw you. Because that's bullcrap.
Yes, it is.
I mean, just okay, whatever. I'll stop because it's not words that I can say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There was a guy that Mike Berardino, I believe is his name. I can't remember exactly what he covers or who he covers. I think it's Notre Dame, but don't quote me at all. Do your own research there. He in his poll, what he submitted Alabama 3 spots ahead of Tennessee. I mean, come on, dude. Just give me a break. I watched SEC final the other night, and everybody and when I watched, I know there's different talking heads at different points. I watched the crew that was Takeo Spikes and man, I'm just blanking on names, but Takeo Spikes,
Ben Watson, Chris Doering.
Yes, Chris Doering, and I can't remember the SEC Network, ESPN, actual anchor. I can't remember who that was. Might have been Darinoka, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody not named Takeo Spikes predicted Tennessee number 1 in the CFP poll, which I also think will happen. I'll be happy with 2 in that poll as long as it's not a tie. Sure. But number 1 seems fair and seems like what's going to happen. I just don't like it from we're not number 1. This is Georgia talking. We're not number 1. Watch us. We're going to prove to you that we're number 1. That's the only thing that I don't like. Yeah. But everybody but Takeo Spikes had Tennessee number 1 in their projected top 6.
Yep.
There was a lot of shade to Clemson, a lot of shade to TCU. But the overarching theme was Tennessee number 1, their schedule, their strength of schedule, what they've done to those teams at times, winning all of their games, period. Tennessee #1 is their projection.
Sure. As far as this Associated Press thing and being tied at 2, just go ahead and put us at 3. I would much rather you put us at 3 than tie us at 2, because you've never done that before.
Yeah.
And you're basically saying, we're not convinced of your brand yet.
Yeah.
And I go back to, is your poll a rankings or a ratings? Is it a who you are, or is it a what you have done?
Yep.
And if it's a what you have done, then I don't know how you put us at 3.
Exactly.
But if it's a who you are, okay, go ahead and put us at 3. Put Ohio State 2, whatever. I'm fine with that. But as far as this week goes, I really want us to be second in the CFP.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
I want Georgia to be first. I want us in the locker room going, thank you for that locker room material. Appreciate that. Yeah. I don't want to give that to Georgia, because Kirby Smart, being the son of Nick, being very good at finding every piece of motivation that he possibly can. I want you to eat, and I want you to eat. Sorry, that was my best Kirby impression. But so just go ahead and put us at 2. But as far as the AP top 25, I have never said this. I have never felt this way. I have always not had a problem with preseason rankings. I've never had a problem with the AP, top 25 poll, other than it's a bunch of clowns who do it. But, I've never really minded it. It creates great conversation, that sort of thing. But after that, just stop. Just stop doing a poll. Just stop. I mean,
yep.
It's been a long time, since 1933 or whatever year it was when you did it for the first time. So just stop, because that is I hope Heupel is holding that up, saying they still don't respect you.
Yeah,
they still don't respect you.
Should be an easy week from that standpoint.
Yeah, and I'm looking. If I'm Heupel and I'm looking at these guys, I'm saying, I don't know what else they want you to do. I mean, because you just handled a top 20 team 44-6. Handled them. But anyway, beside the point. Hey, if you're checking us out on Spotify and on YouTube, you're going to begin to notice a couple different changes that the Pandemonium Reigns podcast is bringing to you. So a couple of weeks ago, we officially started naming these Tennessee dedicated podcasts as OrangeCast, and Mike has apparently a good buddy, not as good buddy as I am, but a good buddy who has come along and has provided a new image. So now you will be able to visibly see OrangeCast and normal podcasts and dictate, hey, do I want to listen to them talk about Tennessee, or do I want to listen to them talk about everything else? But we're going to give this dude a shout out. So you do your thing. You got the platform, like, hype this guy up. Go follow him. Do the thing.
My man, Josh Wilhelm. You just, first of all, go check out his website, jwcreates.com. It's, first of all, it is a beautiful, wonderful website. That's where you can find out everything exactly that Josh does. Look at that. I mean, just look at that logo. If you need an idea of what Josh does, take a look at that beautiful OrangeCast logo. He did this. He's like, man, I think you guys would love this. You're spot on, my brother. We love it. You can also find him on Instagram and Facebook at JDub Creates, JDUB Creates, DUB, if I could talk. But yeah, I mean, he can do album covers for you. He can do websites, graphic design, logos. I mean, he's a very talented, good friend of mine. Love you, brother. Thank you for the logo, and check out jwcreates.com.
I'm trying to make my screen shareable here. Let's see if I can do this real quick. You can see my whole desktop right now, I believe. But there it is. That should be it right there. Is that the image? Can you see it?
No. I'm still seeing your face. What the heck?
Well, my face is beautiful, so let's not worry about it.
It is. It is. Yeah, hit up jwcreates.com. Check him out on Instagram and Facebook at jdubcreates. And man, hit him up with any needs that you got for graphic design, logos, album covers. I mean, my man is on point. Level of details that I've not seen with anyone that I know on this level. So thank you, brother, for the logo, and we know you all will enjoy it as well.
Appreciate you, my man. So I was just thinking, we need to start doing some t-shirts, because J-Dub just gave us an incredible image there. My wife does custom t-shirts. So I'll tell you guys what, you share this YouTube page to your Facebook or something on Instagram or TikTok or something. You share this somehow, and we'll figure out a way to maybe get you a shirt with a custom logo on it. But I'm gonna see if somebody does it.
Absolutely.
Maybe let's see if somebody's listening this far into the episode. Hey, we need to wind this down. We got 3 minutes left to cut this puppy off. The Pandemonium Reigns podcast remains undefeated.
It sure does.
I
sure does. I mean, we were talking about 8-4. We were worried about. I was worried about 7-5 if things didn't go well. We were talking about 8-4, 9-3 ceiling, 10-2 if you lose to Alabama and Georgia. 11-1 is the floor, and that just regardless of the result Saturday it's one of those seasons where you see a coach have a remarkable turnaround from year 1 to 2, and Tennessee's experiencing it, and it could go very far. It's already gone farther than we think, but there is no ceiling for this team. I mean, if they're clicking, there's no roof, there's no limit.
Absolutely. It's so crazy to think about this, where if we lose on Saturday, it's actually not the worst thing. It doesn't help that you still got undefeated Michigan, undefeated Ohio State, undefeated TCU, undefeated Clemson, because that could play against us eventually. But even if we lose on Saturday, we're not entirely out. We're not out of the picture, which I've seen some Tennessee fans on TikTok saying, hey, kind of want to lose this game so we don't go into Atlanta and lose that one and then really miss our chance in the playoffs. But it's just crazy to think about being 8-0 and talking about Heisman, talking about award winners. I don't know what to do with my hands, bro.
No, I mean, not at all.
It's just a great time to be alive and to be a Tennessee fan, because it has been a long time since 2008. It's been a
long time coming, man. Long
time. So, hey, thank you guys so much for listening out there. Make sure you're following, subscribing. I do want to mention, on the last episode that we put out, we tripled our normal numbers, and so I just want to say thank you to you guys. Like, that just came out of nowhere.
Sure did.
Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Make sure you're on the lookout for Friday's episode. Ryan Phillips again. He'll be back with us. Follow us or subscribe on Spotify. Doesn't cost you anything. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Doesn't cost you anything. If you do subscribe on YouTube, not only will Mike blow up your email, but he will send you like pictures of the power tee cut into his chest hair. So
maybe one day
when we can grow the chest hair, right?
Yes, that's it.
Hey, we love you guys. Have a fantastic week. We're 8-0. God bless, and go Vols.